Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Dave's Top 3,000 Songs of the Rock Era. Today I'm up to song number 2113, and that one is I've Told Every Little Star by Linda Scott. This one came out in 1961. Here's a picture of the single. It was also released on her 1961 album, called Starlight, Starbright. Here's a picture of Linda Scott around the time she recorded it. She was only, I think, 17 or 18 at the time, and I'd say she was a pretty cute teenager. But, that was over 60 years ago. But anyway, yeah, so before I continue, I decided to feature a sample of the song and react to it. So here it goes. Dum, da, dum, da, 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 dum, da, dum, da, 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 dum, da, 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 why haven't I told you? Oh, baby, I told every little star just how sweet I think you are. Why haven't I told you? Da, da, I told ripples in a brook made my heart an open book. Why haven't I told you? Okay, that's the beginning of I Told Every Little Star by Linda Scott. I think it's a very pretty song and very catchy tune and kind of typical of a lot of music around that time in the early 60s. There were a lot of kind of sweet love ballads like that one by teenage girls. I think I already featured a few of them. I did Angel on My Shoulder. They did, I don't know, Navy Blue, and there's a lot of other ones like this coming up on that list. This song actually has a very long history. I just learned this today. It was actually written in 1932, and it was first used in a Broadway musical. It was written by, I guess, a pretty famous songwriting team. The music was by Jerome Kern, and the lyrics were by Oscar Hammerstein the second. I didn't look him up. I'm pretty sure he's related to Hammerstein, Rogers, and Hammerstein. But anyway, it was featured in this musical called Music in the Air. And I learned something else interesting about the song. Apparently, the music was inspired for Jerome Kern by there was a bird singing outside his bed, I guess, one day. And I guess he was inspired by the singing of the bird and inspired the melody for this song, which I think is pretty interesting. And Linda Scott had the first hit version of it, the biggest hit version. But it was also covered by many other artists. The next hit was for this woman here. This was not a hit in the USA. It was a hit in Denmark. Actually, in three countries near Denmark and Sweden and Finland. It was a hit for this Danish singer named Gitte Henning. I'd never heard of her before. Maybe I have to listen to her version of the song. I would say she's pretty cute too, or was. Yeah, and then a lot of other artists covered it later, but nobody else had a hit with it. And Linda Scott had the only American hit with it. Now I guess I'll talk a little bit about Linda Scott. She was born in 1945 in Queens, New York, and she was musically active from 1959 to 1967, and she had a fair number of hits in the early 60s. I'm just gonna go through them. Her first hit in 1961 is one I'm featured today. I've Told Every Little Star. That one went to number 3. She followed that up with Don't Bet Money, Honey, which went to number 9. And then she had I Don't Know Why, which went to number 12. And then 1962, she had Yes Siree, which went to number 60. Bermuda, which went to number 70. Never in a Million Years, which went to number 56, and I left my heart on the balcony, which went to number 74. So those were the hits for Linda Scott. I only know this one. I've told every little stuff. Maybe should listen to some of her other songs as well. But she's not only a singer, but she had a small acting role in a movie I never watched called "Don't Knock the Twist," starring Chubby Checker. I think you guys all know that the twist was the rage for a lot of the early '60s. As a matter of fact, the twist. I'm just going to digress a little bit here. The song "The Twist" by Chubby Checker is the only song to hit number one twice. It hit in 1960 and 1962, when, according to some references I've seen, that was actually the biggest hit of the rock era. Not number one on my list, but it's number one on a lot of other people's lists. Just thought I'd mention that. Yeah, so I never saw this movie, but apparently Linda Scott was in it and she played herself. So just thought I'd mention that. So I guess that's everything I have to say about this song. I've told every little star by Linda Scott. So thank you for watching. You guys rock, and I'll see you next time. Bye.